After witnessing the tragic events of September 11th, LSE student Jack Ryan enrolls in the United States Marines with hopes of making a difference. 18 months later, Jack, now a lieutenant, is on a recon helicopter mission with two other Marines in the snowy mountains. One Marine wonders why someone as educated as Jack would volunteer for such a dangerous mission, but he thinks it's the best way to serve. The private on board the chopper is having a hard time with his harness, and Jack goes to help him when the chopper is suddenly hit by a missile and crashes. Jack ends up with a broken back, barely hanging on to life. The doctors are amazed at how he was able to rescue his fellow Marines in his condition. The doctors assess Ryan and prep him for surgery, and one doctor notes that his fight in this war is over. Jack begins his lengthy and painful recovery at a veteran medical center where he meets third-year medical student Cathy assigned to help him recover. Also keeping a close eye on Jack's progress is senior CIA official Thomas Harper, who plans to meet with Jack once he begins to make progress. A few weeks later, Harper meets with Jack, introducing himself as a commander of the U.S. Navy, and Jack reveals he had always noticed Harper in his suit and tie keeping an eye on him. Harper thanks Jack for his service. He knows of Jack's dissertation and the intel he has gathered during his tour and is very impressed. Jack wonders how he managed to pull this info, and Harper reveals he's also CIA. After months of intensive recovery, it is finally time for Cathy to say goodbye as she has completed her study. He has grown quite fond of her and invites her out to dinner, but Cathy promises to join him once he is able to run all the way out of the building. The two part ways and Jack goes for a night run in the rain when he stumbles upon Harper standing discreetly in a building waiting for him. Harper acknowledges Jack's bravery and heroism, but now offers him another way to serve his country. Harper adds that his plan is to have Jack finish his doctorate, become an analyst for financial intelligence, then work at a series of banks on Wall Street where his job will be to covertly uncover funding for terror groups. Jack doesn't think the CIA has been very virtuous with their borderline illegal activities, but Harper explains that his unit is different and was created to prevent another 9/11. 10 years later in New York, Jack, now secretly a CIA agent and engaged to Cathy, works as an auditor on Wall Street analyzing partnering Russian business accounts amidst a United Nations vote to authorize a Turkish pipeline which could end Russia's dominance of the industry. At the UN headquarters, the Russian delegate is worried that if the Turkish pipeline is approved, it would bankrupt the Russian government. But the U.S. delegate thinks he is over-exaggerating the outcome. The U.S. delegate refuses to accept their proposal, and the Russians see this as an act of economic war. After analyzing some data, Jack discreetly meets with a CIA agent working for Harper in a movie theater. He has discovered some hidden Russian accounts and thinks Harper needs a man in Moscow, but the agent knows Harper will want Jack to go, as only he can understand the data. Meanwhile, Cathy returns home calling for Jack, but sees no sign of him even after she has completed her shower. She is folding his pants when she finds the movie ticket. The two are at dinner later when she suggests that they go see the same movie she found in his pockets, wondering if he has ever seen it, but Jack deflects from the question. He later meets with his Wall Street boss Rob with plans to visit Moscow after discovering hidden accounts belonging to a Russian company they do business with. The company is owned by Russian oligarch Viktor Cherevin, and Rob begs him not to destroy their very lucrative partnership in his quest to get answers. Cathy wants to join him on the trip, but Jack thinks she would be bored as he will be busy working. She then confronts him about the movie ticket she found and doesn't believe that he saw the movie by himself, suspecting he is having an affair, but Jack denies this. Later, he promises to take her on a long-awaited vacation to Paris, and she agrees. Jack soon lands in Russia where he is met by Cherevin's private security, MB Deng, assigned as his protective detail. MB drives Ryan to his hotel, leaving him to check in while he goes upstairs to check his room. The two get to the fancy room, and Ryan goes to admire the view when he narrowly escapes getting shot by MB. He scrambles to the bathroom dodging bullets and locks himself inside. MB kicks in the door, searching for Jack. He comes upon the shower and opens fire, but Jack attacks him from the ceiling. MB tries to strangle him, but Jack manages to break free before tackling MB into the tub. Jack then uses all his strength to hold the big man down while the tub fills with water, eventually killing him. After catching his breath and gathering himself, Jack leaves the hotel paranoid and shaking. He contacts the CIA, reporting that his life is in danger. The woman on the line gives him instructions to stay low until it's time to meet his contact. Jack thinks he is out of his element as he is just an analyst, but the woman reminds him he is a Marine. Jack heads back to the hotel room, where he hears the phone ring twice as per instructions. He then begins making his way to the spot to meet his contact and notices a taxi cab following him, but it soon speeds off. Cathy calls, and Jack tries to play everything off as fine. She was hoping they could push forward their trip to Paris, but at that moment Jack spots the same cab heading toward him. He breaks the news to her that he won't be able to make their trip, but reminds her he loves her and begs her not to lose faith. He then arrives at the meeting spot where he sees Harper waiting for him. Jack is still visibly shaken up, but Harper tells him it's better after than during. He wants to know what happened, and Jack explains that he stumbled upon accounts containing large sums of US dollars belonging to Cherevin, which have been slowly inflating the US dollar. Jack thinks that there's a Russian plot to crash the US economy by collapsing the dollar, and it will be timed following a terrorist attack on US soil. If he is right, Russia could easily recover with their oil reserves, leaving the USA in the dark ages. Jack suspects that the massive sell-off would be programmed and stored in Cherevin's system and thinks he can get the details of the attack. He is still shaken about how he killed the man, but Harper tells him he will be fine and hands him a gun, telling him he is now operational. Jack heads back to his apartment, which has been cleaned by the CIA, even the bathtub. He sits to gather his thoughts, then texts Cathy, "I love you," and is pleased to get a response. The next day, Jack turns up to the Cherevin group building as normal, where he is greeted by Cheverin's assistant who guides him through the security protocols. He asks about his own keycard, but learns he will need to be accompanied at all times. He is led to Cheverin's personal office, and the two greet each other. Cherevin asks about his first night in, but Jack tells him it was brutal, but he survived. Jack explains that he is here to do an audit as he has located hidden accounts, but Cherevin tells him nothing is hidden, just secure. To make things more complicated for Jack, Cherevin reveals he has sold all the companies related to the accounts he discovered, which would make the audit and his journey pointless. Jack relents and offers to take Cherevin to dinner to make up for his mistake, so Cherevin accepts but offers to pick him up from his hotel, claiming that Moscow is very dangerous. He casually mentions how his driver MB has disappeared, but Jack apologizes with a smirk. Cherevin then asks if his wife will be joining them, as he heard she has arrived at his hotel. This catches Jack off guard, but he explains that Cathy is his girlfriend and will ask her to join. Jack leaves, and one of Cheverin's men starts following, but Jack slips into a covert CIA van, losing him. Jack breaks the news to Harper about the assets being sold, but Harper still needs the algorithm that would dump the cash upon command. Jack tells them about the dinner and suggests that the CIA break into Cheverin's office, swiping his keycard in the process. The person would need to know exactly what files to search for, but Jack soon realizes he is the only person who knows this stuff. Jack returns to his apartment to see Cathy waiting there for him. She explains the ordeal she went through in order to come visit him, but it means nothing to her as she just wants answers. She has found his gun, so she knows something is up and pleads with him to talk to her. Jack then tells her he is CIA, and Cathy is relieved hearing this as she thought he was having an affair. At a Russian Orthodox church in Michigan, we see Alexander arriving with his parents, and a priest inside takes notice of him. After church, they return home where Alexander and his parents are hurriedly burning files. Later, he goes for a walk when he notices the same priest following him from a car. Alexander then manages to cut off the car and approach the driver before swiftly stabbing him in the neck, killing him. But when he checks the man's ID, he is shocked to realize the priest is an FBI agent. Cathy learns about the mission and dinner with Cherevin, but Jack doesn't want her involved in the plan and demands she be sent home. Jack argues for her safety, and Cathy reminds him if she knew about his job, she would be here. They want time to themselves to discuss this, but Harper refuses as they are discussing high-level security issues she shouldn't have learned about in the first place and reminds them of the threat they are facing. Harper explains that they need Jack to break into the office next to Cheverin's head of security, Lemkov, and plug a device into the outlet so they can hack his computer. He wants Cathy to keep Lemkov at the table for about 10 minutes, and despite Jack's protest, she is ready to go. During the drive to dinner, Cathy and Jack both pretend to have a rift in their relationship, discussing how she refuses to wear her engagement ring, and the driver takes notice of this. They soon arrive at the restaurant, where Cherevin greets Cathy with a kiss to the hand. Meanwhile, Harper is surveilling Lemkov's office and alerts Jack when the coast is clear for him to make his move. On cue, Jack starts acting drunk and making a mess, seemingly upsetting Cathy and annoying Cherevin. Cathy gets fed up and excuses herself to the bathroom, so Cherevin decides to escort her himself. At that time, a CIA agent steals Cheverin's wallet and hands it off to Jack, who steals his access card. Cherevin soon returns with Cathy, but Jack again begins to insult her drunkenly, so she insists that he take a walk, and Cherevin agrees with her sternly. Jack stumbles out of the restaurant, but swiftly rushes over to the Cherevin building. He enters a biometric scanner, and a CIA-planted security guard gives him access. He enters the elevator and is almost spotted by Cheverin's assistant, but evades her. He gets to the office and begins to hack into the Cherevin group system. However, Lemkov gets an alert in his car and starts speeding back to the office, alerting Cheverin's assistant, who is still in the building. Lemkov's return was expected, and Jack now has 3 minutes to complete the hack. However, his hack is interrupted when the system asks for an access code. Jack gets in contact with Rob and manages to get the code from him to complete the hack, but Lemkov has arrived at the building and Harper orders Jack to get out. Jack sticks to the hack and manages to grab the vital information he needs. However, armed security guards begin to close in around him. Harper directs him to Cheverin's private elevator and gets him access, but once inside, their communications are cut off. Meanwhile, Cherevin is so engrossed in conversation with Cathy that he ignores a call from his assistant. The assistant, though, soon turns up at the restaurant and alerts him to the issue. Meanwhile, Harper sees Jack get to the outside staircase, but security guards are closing in around him, so Harper grabs his sniper rifle and begins taking out the security guards coming from the ground and clearing a way for Jack. Meanwhile, Cherevin is heading back to the office with Cathy. A female agent monitoring from a parked van jumps out, collects Cheverin's access card from Jack, and bumps into Cherevin returning it. Jack shows up, and so does Lemkov, who searches Jack for the keycard. But Cherevin finds his keycard and wallet on him, so Jack apologizes for her earlier behavior and leaves with Cathy. Later, Lemkov sees security footage of Jack with the CIA agents and realizes what really happened. In a rage, he shoots Lemkov dead for his incompetence. Harper, Jack, and Cathy get to a CIA safe house where Jack reveals that the cash dump is set to activate tomorrow, which means the terror attack will happen soon. Suddenly, men sent by Cherevin burst into the safe house, letting off shots. The men grab Cathy and Jack races after them, but the men escape the building. Wasting no time, Jack jumps into a car with another CIA agent and speeds after Cathy. It turns out there is a tracker placed inside the ring on Cathy's finger, and soon Harper gets her location. Cathy is brought to a location where Cherevin joins her inside the van. He then calls Ryan, threatening to hurt Cathy if he transmits the files he stole, so Ryan lies that only he has the files. Cherevin tells Cathy to talk to him, but she refuses, so he slaps her, enraging Jack. He then grabs Cathy by the neck, threatening to give her a brutal death by causing a bulb to explode in her mouth if Jack even thinks of double-crossing him. Meanwhile, Jack is racing towards their truck with Harper guiding him. He soon catches sight of the van, but a garbage truck cuts him off, causing the car to crash. He thinks he has lost her, but Harper tells him they are going around a roundabout, and he can cut them off. Jack races ahead and grabs a metal pipe. Just as Cherevin places the light bulb inside Cathy's mouth, Jack launches at him and knocks the driver out, causing the car to crash. He grabs Cathy from the van and wants to beat Cheverin's ass, but the CIA agents drag him away and they escape in a car. Later, on board a CIA plane, the agents link Alexander to the upcoming terror attack and have his house raided, where they find burnt documents. They suspect that he is a sleeper agent, until Jack makes the connection that Alexander could be Cheverin's son, who was suspected dead many years ago. After doing some digging, the agents confirm that Alexander is Cheverin's son, who was smuggled into the USA under a fake name with fake parents. But after the last raid, they have lost track of him. Jack then locks in and begins to use his analytical mind to start tracking Alexander until he manages to locate a barn in Pennsylvania where Alexander is suspected to be. With a little more brain work, Jack also finds out that the terror attack will take place on Wall Street, Manhattan. Soon FBI agents rush the barn and realize that Alexander has already left in a repainted van. Jack and the team soon land in New York with plans to track the target van. Jack and Cathy part ways, and he joins Harper in a chopper, and they head to Manhattan where police and emergency vehicles are flooding the target location. The cops are searching the city for the van, but Jack soon realizes that Alexander's van is the same model as the police vehicles. He scans the passing vans until he spots one with fresh paint passing by. Unable to reach Harper, Jack jumps on a motorcycle and races after the van. He calls Harper, trying to explain that Alexander plans to go under the building, but the call drops. Alexander soon spots the motorcycle and hits the gas, racing into an underground tunnel, but Jack stays on his tail. He tries to block Jack from catching up to him before hitting the brakes, causing Jack to crash into the van. Alexander takes off once more before coming to a stop underneath a convection chimney. Harper and his team also figure out his target and begin sending FBI agents down. Meanwhile, Alexander starts the timer, but Jack catches up and attacks him. The two fight, during which Jack realizes the scope of the explosives inside. The two trade some heavy punches, but Jack manages to overpower Alexander and get to the van. Harper is leading a team of FBI agents to Jack's location, but when they arrive, the van is missing. Jack is driving the van away from the building, reaching out to Harper, who begins directing him towards the water. Turns out Alexander is also on board the van trying to activate the bomb, and Jack tries throwing him around. Once he points the van in the direction of the water, Jack locks the steering before diving to the back to tackle Alexander. The two end up hanging from the back of the van during the struggle, but Jack manages to jump from the van before it plunges into the water and the bomb goes off. A while later, Cherevin is in his office when he gets a call. He heads to the woods to meet with his conspirators, but he is killed to cover their tracks. Jack reunites with Cathy and the two embrace. A while later, he and Harper are summoned to the White House to brief the president on their next move. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more movie recaps like this. See you later.